Okay, so I know I've been saying this recently quite a lot, but 40% of you would have left by now, so for everyone that's still here, welcome to the video. I'm Lycan from Green Lycan Reviews, and today we're going to be talking about Manor Lords. This is a medieval city building game that also has real-time strategy tactics when it comes to battles. When you begin the game, you have the ability to essentially choose all of the different settings on the way you want to play the game. It allows you to change the difficulty. It allows you to change how fertile land can be, and even bandit camps and whether there's bandits at the start of the game. There are 3 different main modes that you can play. There's Rise to Prosperity, which is a city building only mode without really any enemies. There's Restoring the Peace, which is a balance mode, and there's On the Edge, which is survival. There are 2 main gameplay mechanics that come with this. There's Growth, which allows you to grow your city to be the biggest around and take over the whole area, and there's Domination, that is a war-based game where essentially you have to take over and defeat your opponents to take over the land. There is an AI lord that is outside of the map, and when you've taken over enough of it and built up enough of an army, you can challenge this AI lord to essentially complete the game. Once you pick your game mode, you're just basically thrown straight into the game. It puts you into a main area where there's a homeless village area and a stockpile with some supplies, and you just start building. And this leaves you with a choice. You can start building where you are, or you can look for somewhere a little bit better. New areas around the area that you start in are available to take over using influence, and then you can put down a settlement camp in order to take that area and start building there. But when you start off the game, the first thing you need to think about is the things that are local to where you start, whether it's the food that's available in the area. There are hunting areas where there are animals where you can put down a hunter's shack in order to hunt for those animals, but you need to be close to it, and you can gather from berry bushes as well, but again you need to be close to where they spawn. Some things like berries are seasonal as well, so when it gets towards the winter time, then you cannot get berries because they're not growing anymore, so you have to figure out other ways to survive. So realistically, your city placement from when you start the game is actually very important, so don't just put it where you start, figure out a good place to put it, then start building there. I also had 2 different playthroughs on this where one of them had groundwater, which was underground, where you could put a well on top of it to get water, and another one that didn't have any underwater areas, so I could just put a well anywhere. So I'm not sure how that works, but the basics of the game are you start off, you can move any buildings that you have, they will be disassembled then rebuilt. This does mean that you can move the first stable area you have with your ox, essentially, that allows you to transport things, and you can move it to where you want to then build from there. The first thing you'll want to build will be a granary to store food and a storage depot. These are buildings that can be upgraded for larger storage later on, but what you do need to know is that once you start building, every family that you have will essentially be able to be assigned to a building. When you assign a family to a building, they are not available to do anything else. As you can see in here, I have 26 families available, and 2 of them are unassigned, the other ones are all assigned to certain things. In order to build in your village, you need to have at least 1 family unassigned so they can build things. Early game, it can be a little bit hard to figure out how to get things working when you can't have enough families to run every building you have. So the first thing that I would say is build the storage place and the granary, and then a woodcutter's place so you can get logs, and then you want to start building plots for your buildings. And these plots are called burgage plots. Now, you do not place one building down at a time when it comes to housing. You pick an area, you select the area, and then buildings can be built within that area depending on how large it is. Every single house that you build has the ability to have an expansion slot, so you can build, for example, a chicken coop or a vegetable garden or a tailor or something like that will allow you to get more supplies from houses. What you do need to understand is that these houses, when you build these extra things, can have someone assigned as an artisan that will take over that specific role in that house. This means that that family is then not available to be assigned to other things. It means that when you do this and build like a vegetable garden or an artisan's place like a blacksmith, for example, in a house, then you lose the ability to assign that house to anything else, and they will stay permanently as a blacksmith's house. And you can build a blacksmith separately. So yeah, that's the thing. As long as your town satisfaction is high enough, then people will come and move to your village. But you do have to make sure that you have enough burgage plots and houses built in those areas for families to move in. You will not get new people come in as homeless people. You will have to have houses built for them to move into those houses. I started off the game by building the granary and the storage and wood cutting places. I built a hunter shack and then started trying to survive and get my food up high enough, got a berry picking place, and then started building burger slots in order to get enough buildings to bring in new people constantly. It didn't take me long before very quickly I had 28 houses that are available for families to move in, and that still wasn't quite enough to run the village that I needed to run. This is why it's very important to get the burger slots put out there as soon as possible, but also keep in mind that it does take a couple of logs in order to build these slots. And that brings us off to the next thing, which is storage management. Your storage depot that you build at the start of the game is very limited in size. There are certain things and materials you need. As you can see here with the trading post, there is a little picture of a horse. I can assign a horse to that one or get a horse for the trading post. That exists on a lot of buildings that allow you to either upgrade the building in a certain way or add some sort of an expansion slot to it. So the first thing you want to do is check that storage depot, check what you need to be able to upgrade it, and get those materials to upgrade it to make it larger. General storage at the start I believe is 250, which gets filled very quickly, and when it does get filled, any production buildings you have will store the other things in the generic storage, and it won't go to the storage facility, so a lot of production facilities will just stop working. But once you upgrade the storage facility, then you're able to get 2,500 in there, and it makes it a lot easier to store things and get things going in your village. You may also need to build another storage depot later on in the game, but at the moment I've not needed to. When it comes to the housing in the properties, in order to upgrade the plot to another plot to get taxes that are paid into your coffers to allow you to buy things and trade, you'll need to upgrade certain things in your village in order for those buildings to qualify for being upgraded. What this means is you'll have to make sure that you have people making clothes or having certain materials that are available in order to upgrade. And one of the first things you'll need to upgrade will be your church. First you'll have to build a church, and then in order to upgrade to the next tier of houses after that, you'll need to upgrade your church to a stone church. This means finding stone deposits and getting that as quick as possible. These are things that you can kind of look at doing early game and plan for the future so that you have the materials available and you don't have to start looking for them once you get to that point in the game. After you've upgraded your church and you can upgrade the plots of your buildings, you're going to want to upgrade them to the third tier, and in order to do that you're going to need a tavern, you're going to need barley in order to create stuff, so you're going to need a malt house to turn barley into malt, which will then be served in a tavern, and you have to have a good supply of that. So get a farm, get a big field, get a lot of stuff grown, grow a lot of barley. I found that I had to get to the trading post, get some money coming in from upgrading my buildings so that I can actually import barley in order to make the things that I needed to get the tavern running properly. Every time that you upgrade a building or house, at least, you get taxes from that building. They pay more taxes. Later on in the game, or even early in the game, if you want to, you can build a manor, and that will allow you to actually raise the taxes, but raising the taxes will decrease the happiness and satisfaction of your village. So you have to kind of manage this very carefully. But just upgrading the houses themselves will get you enough coming in over, like, generally over time while you're building up your village, that you're able to buy things that you need to without increasing the taxes. You also, as you can probably see, you have the ability to put down paths. You can put them down wherever you want to. It doesn't cost anything to build them. You put them down for free, and it's just digging out dirt basically in the road. Travel on these paths will obviously allow people to travel faster, and it's always a good idea to plot out as best you can. Obviously, one of the difficult things of city builder games is to plan something before you've built it. So what you can see here is what I built generally over time, which is kind of fun, and it's a bit messy, and I will probably move buildings later on and make it tidier. And that actually brings me to another thing, and that is armaments and military. In order to get military, you need to have armaments. You'll need to have weapons and shields and spears and things like that made and stored in your storehouse. But in order to bring on military units, you actually have to rally them from your own people. When you set up military units with the military tab at the very bottom, you will be able to select different types of units you want to create, but it won't create individual units. It will create essentially a whole troop of units that may be, for example, 32, and then you will need to make sure you've got the equipment for them to arm themselves before you can actually rally them and use them. If you have got money, you've got the ability to hire mercenaries, but you pay on a monthly basis for them. So that can be good early game if you can start making money early on in the game. And once you have your military units and you can press the rally button, you can then set where you want them to rally and then control them from there. Obviously, when you start into the battle mode and actually start attacking something, it goes into like a real-time strategy game mode. That's something I haven't fully explored myself, so I'm not going to go into that. But when it comes down to it, the game does require a lot of planning and a lot of like really figuring out where you want to do things, how you want to do things to make it as tidy as possible. And you can expand and create other cities obviously as you progress through the game, but generally speaking, planning is the most important part when it comes to materials and things that you need to collect to keep your village going. Like I said at the start, making sure that you're near an area where you can hunt for food or collect berries is very important. At the moment, you can't really rely too heavily on farms because they do take a little bit of time to kind of get sorted out, and they do grow things very slowly over time. And when you hit winter time, obviously you can't grow anything, so that kind of ruins that whole thing. So you have to look at hunting at the very start of the game and berry collecting, and then bring in trade as much as you can. One of the ways that I actually offset this was upgrading some of my houses with chicken coops and gardens in order to gather food kind of passively without having to worry about growing things or getting a farm going. So that is something to keep in mind early game if you want to kind of get ahead and get good storage of food. Also make sure you definitely get a woodcutter's shack in order to get firewood, because this is something you're going to need, because especially if you start near the winter time, you're going to need to get firewood in order to keep your people warm, otherwise they will die from freezing. I did this from the start, and then when it came to trading, I was able to actually trade firewood and get rid of the excess that I had in order to make some money, so it kind of helps long term either way. But this game is jam-packed with different types of industries and things that you can do. You have lots of different things like clay and stone and iron that you can collect in order to make other things. And then when it comes to the industry part of the game, it's not as simple as just getting a blacksmith and then creating things. You have to get an iron mine, and then you have to get essentially what is a smelter, but just called something different, I can't remember the name of it at the moment, in order to smelt the iron into iron ingots basically, and then that can be used to then make other things that your blacksmiths or other parts of your industry can use to make stuff. Also, some upgrades with houses will require house roof tiles, and in order to get those you're going to need to get clay, and then you're going to need to turn it into the house tiles in order to then upgrade. So there are quite a lot of things that will involve you having to add new buildings to your village in order to get a production line going, and this of course, if you don't have enough houses, will take up families and make it a lot harder for you to do this if you don't have a lot of them. So that's why I definitely say start building soon into the game. As you can see on this one, I'm building a hell of a lot of houses because I'm starting to run out of people for planned businesses that I want to build, and I decided to build the houses and get the villagers there first so that I can plan ahead for it, rather than look at putting the buildings down, having them without workers in them, then building houses and wait for that to happen, because it does take some time, as you can see. And this is on the fastest speed, so it does take quite a bit of time for them to build houses, but that's just realistic. This has definitely been a game that I've gone back to every single day to play it and just explore and see what else I can do. The other thing to add as well, and just in case you don't know about it, is you do have the ability to, you'll have to search online to find a template for your own custom coat of arms, but you do have the ability to use a paint program or an editing program or Photoshop or something like that and put your own icon or design onto the shield and then import that into the game in order to actually have your own custom coat of arms. As you can see up in the top right corner where my character thing is, my icon's there, and that's because I added it. If you don't know how to do this, the size of the file will have to be 1024 by 1024, and it will have to be a PNG file. Even if you don't have the coat of arms template, you can still generally create it in the center and then edit and move it around as you need to. You then have to save that as a PNG, and then you have to put it into a certain folder, and I'm going to put this up on the screen now just in case you need it, and I'll probably just link it down in the description as well just so you can follow through with this one. And I am on the road to 10,000 subscribers at the moment because that's my goal, because I have big goals. So please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, get down in the comments, let me know what you think of the video, let me know if you're going to be playing this game. Obviously hit that notification bell as well to keep up to date with my videos, but you'll have to go to C drive on your computer, you'll have to go to users, then whatever your username is, then app data, local, Manor Lords, saved, and saved games, and then in that saved games folder you'll have to save the PNG file specifically as custom underscore coat with no other things after. You don't need a PNG on the end of it, just custom underscore coat. Once you save that and you go into the game at the start of it, you can press load custom coat of arms and it should load your image into the game. It's a bit of hassle to do, but if you want to get a custom coat of arms, that's how you do it. And before you leave the video, because you think this is going to be the end of it, I've been Lycan from Green Lycan Reviews. Thank you for watching my video, and I'll see you in the next one.